Nigeria. Uh, Today is Tuesday, 30th September 2025, and it's 11 a.m. And we'll be starting now. I'd like to appreciate our panelists who have joined so far and who are on their way to joining as well. It's really lovely to have you here, and I'm looking forward to having a very engaging conversation. So our panelists for today are, we have on the call right now, Jace AK. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. So we have on the call Jace AK, and she's ED Strong Women Network and the CEO of Transcendent Academy. We're also going to be having Buni Development, Healthy Learners, and we will be having Olamide Adeniji, who is an early childhood education expert and the director and founder of Twinkly Tots School. Thank you very much, Winifred, for joining. I can see that you're here, so we're waiting for Olamide. Good morning to attendees as well. I can see that attendees are joining in. Thank you very much for joining. Please do engage in the chat box, ask questions, and let us know if you have any comments, and we'll be glad to address them. Like I said, the theme for today's webinar is teaching a gendered profession? It's a question actually. Global patterns and implications for early education in Nigeria. To give a bit of context about the theme and why we are exploring it. So teaching has long been considered a feminized profession across many parts of the world. In Nigeria, particularly in early childhood and primary education, women make up the majority of teachers. That's the fact. So while this reflects women's strong contribution to nation building through education, it also raises important questions. How does gender affect the status of teachers, their career growth, and the value society places on teaching? What are the consequences for learning outcomes, especially in the early years? This webinar will unpack these issues, drawing insight from educators, school leaders, and gender advocates, as well as civil society actors. Together, we'll explore how gender norms shape the teaching profession and consider what policies and practices are needed to ensure teaching is both valued and equitable. So some of the things we'll try to achieve with the webinar today is to explore the global and local dynamics behind teaching as a predominantly female profession, to examine how gender dynamics shape perceptions of teaching, career progression, and educational outcomes in Nigeria, to discuss the implications of gender patterns in teaching for early childhood and foundational learning, and to highlight strategies for strengthening the teaching workforce and promoting equity in the profession. So once again, thank you to everyone that is here so far. We are waiting for Olamide to join, but we are going to be starting shortly. And I really appreciate the attendees who have made time to actually join this call. I look forward to us having a very, very engaging discussion. So to kickstart, I would like to understand the context and the situational trend of teaching being considered rightly a gendered profession, especially in early education in Nigeria. Like I said during my introduction, it is the fact that women make up majority of early childhood teachers. So to understand this trend, I'm going to ask both our panelists, starting with Jace. So in your opinion, why does teaching, especially at early childhood and primary levels, tend to attract more women globally and in Nigeria?
Okay, sorry, I was talking. Hi, everybody. Hello, everybody. It's good to be here. Hi, Sakina and Winfred, I see you, that you are here. Good morning. It's morning here in Abuja, Nigeria, depending on where every other person joins. So yes, your question, I mean, I like that you were straight on, you said it clearly. Teaching is considered a female, job in Nigeria. And if you ask me why, there are a lot of reasons. But mainly, especially teaching, when you talk about teaching, to early childhood, like early childhood education, teaching is often viewed as an extensive, or an extension of caregiving. And that's a role that socially is coded as feminine. Therefore, it discourages men from entering or staying in the field. You find a lot of parents, I've been in the education sector, by the way, for quite some time. You find parents saying things like, oh no, if it's a female teacher, then I want my child to be in that teacher's class. I remember very quickly, I'll just share, some years ago when I was still active in the classroom full time. Currently, I'm still active in the classroom, but not full time. She said, I was moved from year 4 to year 5. And it turned out they had planned for their child to be in my class, and it was a boy, it was a male child. School moved me to year 5 and moved a fantastic, by the way, I was stressed, a fantastic teacher, male teacher in year 4. And the mom told me, how come? He wanted, not to call the child's name, we prefer, it would be better for a mother, a woman who would nurture, who would this, who would that. So the truth is, generally, early childhood education, people, parents, Nigeria, a lot of people, and I think it's a global trend, something that happens in a lot of countries around the world. They just think that teachers in the early education are like caregivers, nurturers, and so they expect more women to be in that field. So yes, that's my take.
Thank you very much, Jace. Thanks for that real life personal experience. So you've spoken to social cultural factors that contribute to teaching being considered as a woman's profession. So Winifred, what do you think are the social expectations, or how do you think social expectations now of caregiving, as just mentioned, shape who chooses teaching as a career? Do you think women are also attracted to the profession because it's seen as something feminine, or do you think it's more of a coincidence? Do women agree that caregiving as a function is one of the reasons why they would make better teachers for young children?
Yes, thank you for having me in this platform. And I'll be building on from where Jess stopped. So one of the things that when you sent the topic, I was going through it and I could relate with what Jess was talking about, because then when I was in school in active teaching, I was to move to another class, and then the parents kept on saying, no, you don't have to move. I need to write to the school to bring you back. You're like their school mother and all that. And in my mind, excuse me, is this school mother, or who wants like how we should professionalize teaching, right? You don't have a school mother. Like I always tell them, I'm not your auntie. I'm Miss. I'm not your auntie. I'm not your father's mother, sister, and I'm not your mother's sister. Then building on that, I don't really think that it's something that women tend to like go acquire. Though we can say that one of the things is that we have the nurturing spirit, but most times women tend to like go to the readily available jobs that help them combine teaching or help them combine career pathway with family. And we know that with our cultural in our culture, that women are seen as home makers, right? And so when it's experienced that a woman goes out there to fend for, to like pursue her career goals, she's limited because she'll have limited options. She's not considering what exactly should I combine with this? And you see women going back to like owning a business, a petty trade business, or going into classrooms. Then secondly, I know that men too, when you look at the men would join teaching profession if the pay is really good. But the teaching profession is really underpaid and undervalued. And I think it's not a gender thing. It's a structural thing, national structural thing. It's something that needs investment. When we invest hugely in the education space and begin to like pay these teachers the return of their efforts, of their investments, you'd see that men would begin to come out. They'll begin to like turn into the profession. And then if a man enters a classroom where they pay them, I Someone told me that she was paid 30K in the classroom right now, like in this age, in this day. And I was so surprised, like 30K, and how are you doing it? And then I can imagine when a man who have like a family of 5 is going into teaching profession and is collecting like that amount of money. Sure, the man will not want to wait. The man will not want to stay because they are also seen as the providers in the family. They would want to go to other careers. But then I'd also ask, though we are talking about teaching education, the teaching profession, where are the men in the education space? Where are the men in the classrooms? You mainly see them in the principal's office. You see them on the boardrooms. You see them like as administrators. And even having worked with over 4,000 teachers, right? I would also say that women are dominating by far in the teaching profession. So I'm not talking about, it's not something like, it's not an option that they chose wholeheartedly. It was an option that was handed over to them due to their cultural role that they have to play in the classroom, in their homes, and also in classrooms. And then to close up, it's because I'm trying to balance the two. I was reading a research in Jigawa, and it's so shocking that in Jigawa State, because women are not allowed to like work, you do not see them in classrooms. So women are scarce too in classrooms when you go to Jigawa State. But then here in other parts of the country, you'd see them doing that because definitely they want to go out and fend and contribute to the family income. And just to say that it's not like I wouldn't agree it's solely gender based. I think it's an option handed over to them, and this option should be corrected in the structure of how our classrooms and the budgets, what is being invested in the education space. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Winifred. I think you raised very good points on the why behind why many women are found in early education careers, how it has a direct implication or it correlates with the homemaking responsibility that women tend to have within the family unit. And now, because of limited time, women are more encouraged to pursue teaching because it allows for them to still be able to perform their responsibilities within the home while having income earning work. I think you also mentioned, which was a question I was going to ask as a follow-up actually, but you responded to it in your explanation about the regional differences across Nigeria in the gender balance of teachers. How in some parts of the country, even though they would prefer to have women doing some of these jobs, but because of their religious and social limitations that they impose on women, we tend to not even have women in some classrooms at all. Thanks for that very extensive response, Winifred. It's good to have Olamide here now. Hi, Olamide. So we've been exploring the trends. Why we've been trying to understand the trend of why women are often found more in the classrooms than men are, and why men are usually school administrators, principals in the boardroom, as such. So now I would like to ask you about what the implications for teachers are. Do you believe that the predominance of women in teaching affects how the profession is valued or compensated?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
so
you.
the line cuts off towards the end of your question. You wanted to find out implications for teachers, and then
Yes, I was
off.
saying, do you
can you just finish up?
Yes, so I said, do you think that the predominance of women in teaching affects how the profession is valued or compensated?
Okay, yes. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to this session. So I think because of the way we have women predominantly in the profession of teaching, especially in the early years setting, I think it kind of affects how women are paid. especially because if we had more men, and men are believed to be breadwinners, probably would have had a system where they will be required to get higher paid. But then, because the profession seems to be, so I think it's a cultural thing that made it look as if teaching in the early years, especially, is for women. It's just the culture that makes it look that way, makes it seem that way. So I think because of that, the pay for women, especially in the early years setting as teachers, as professional, is not as much as what you would want or what you would like, or is not attractive enough to even then get men to be interested in the profession. I think that's another angle to look at it, to say that if probably the teachers in the early years profession are paid, salaries that are comparable to other professions, which are averagely okay, then maybe we might have men interested in coming into that profession.
Thank you, Olamide. You raised a good point on the pay system and how if perhaps the teachers were paid more men would be interested in teaching. But I would like to ask again to you as a follow-up question. Aside from the earning potential, do you think social expectations like Winifred and Jace had rightly mentioned, do you think they also constitute barriers to entry for men when it comes to entering or staying in early childhood or primary education?
For me, I think what I would want to talk of from that angle is that we don't have enough representation. I think that's a major one. So for me, when I studied early years, because my first degree is in early childhood education from the University of Ibadan, in my set, I had my classmates who were men, but most of them, even right from studying early childhood, like I studied, were already saying, no, they were not going to go into the profession. So they were not going to use the certificates. They probably were studying just to have that first degree, and they were all going into something else. And I think one of the reasons is because we don't have that male representation. We don't, if we have teachers who work in the nursery setting or in the early years setting, I would say there are very few, and maybe they're not popular. And I think that's another angle that we need to begin to push. For the few men, if we have, who are working in the early childhood setting, in the early years profession, who are men, if they can begin to push themselves forward using social media, for instance, to show representation, to say, look at me, I'm a teacher, I work with this age group of people, and this is what I do. And then when people see that, then it encourages more men to want to, get into that profession. So I think from the social angle, we don't really have that outlet, or we don't have anybody who has come out to show, even though we have in other parts of the world. So I follow some men who are teachers in nursery setting in other parts of the world, and they're doing amazing things. They're coming out, showing themselves on Instagram, on Facebook, and showing that it's possible to have men in the early years setting. So I think it's the same thing that we should do back home in Nigeria, to push that profession and show that it's not just for women, it's about nation building. So it's not about gender.
Thank you. Early childhood education is not just about women, but about nation building. Carrying that along to Jace, Winifred mentioned earlier that we find more men in boards, on boards rather, and in principals' offices. Do you think there's a systemic way that gender influence career progression and leadership opportunities for women specifically, including teacher retention as well? Do you think that there's more difficulty in the progression of careers of female teachers to become school leaders, to become principals, to become school administrators now?
I don't think it's more difficult for women. What I think is that women also should stand up and show that it's possible and show that they are capable. So there's no prerequisite that says, oh, for you to become an administrator, you have to be a man. For you to become maybe the head of this department, I don't think it's written anywhere that you have to be a man to be the head of the English department, or to rise up to be an administrator, or to rise up to be a principal. I think because I run a school as well, I think I'm not looking at gender. I'm just looking at who can perform, who is able to do the job. So if women are able to show that, oh, I can do the task, I'm up to it, and I won't have things like maybe my children, which are some of the reasons why organizations might say, oh, she has a little child. I won't allow, my family or my marriage or things like that to hold me back. I'm capable and I'm going for it. If we show that we have that experience. So experience is another thing people are looking out for, not the gender. Do you have the experience for that post? How are you pushing? How are you showing that you can do it? Do you go on trainings? So if you are somebody who is currently a teacher and you admire the administrator, or you want to be the principal, what courses have you done that can train you ahead of time? What leadership positions have you taken as being a teacher that shows to the school, to the organization, that, oh, this person can handle that position? So I think it's more showing yourself, more getting the exposure, the experience in the little space that you are in, showing that you are capable and able to handle things. And then I think with time, you would then be pushed into these leadership positions.
Thank you very much, Olamide. So now that we've gone through the implications for teachers, I would like for us to explore the implications for learners. So I'll start with you again, Jace. Do you believe that there's any impact that teacher gender has on learner outcomes in foundational learning and numeracy and literacy now?
Okay, thank you very much. And hi, Olamide. While you were talking, I was here, telling myself, I like that, a woman is the one saying, what you're saying, especially when in the last question that you were asked, when you said, women must, show themselves worthy of the role. So it's not, it's not written anywhere. Sorry, Sakina, I'll respond to your question. It's not written anywhere that, these other roles, administrative roles and the rest are, men should be for the men. I like that you said that. However, I've seen once too many, because I'm in the gender space, right? I have an NGO, Strong Women Network, and we advocate for women. And we've had a number of women reporting cases where they were also as qualified as the men for these roles, but unfortunately, for some other political reasons, the men were selected. So there is that. In fact, a man told me once, he said, we like to leave the dirty job, the petty, dirty job for the ladies, for the women, while we handle more important issues like overseeing everything. So while I agree with you, yes, women, and so all the women listening, yes, women should go out there, show that they are worthy of the job or the role, and not just showing by, eye service or whatever, but also in academics. So take all the courses you need to take, have a personal portfolio for yourself, to celebrate your wins, be out there on social media. So even if your school isn't seeing it, right, another school is following you, someone's following you somewhere, and they're like, I need that person on my, leadership or senior leadership or mid-level leadership. So yes, there's that subtle thing. It's not said anywhere, but it's somewhere in the air. And I'm hoping that, conversations like this will shatter the glass ceilings and allow women to take on, every time there is a woman who is deserving of a role, and there is a man equally who's deserving of a leadership role in schools, in the same school, I hope that the school can make a better choice, and or the woman would have an opportunity. Before I answer your question again, while she was talking, I was telling myself what one of the people I follow recently said. He said, your overall success and the quality of life that you live is largely dependent on the industry or the market that you choose to play in. And unfortunately, I think Winifred spoke about it. The status of education, how education is perceived or seen, especially in Nigeria. But it's interesting because there isn't any country in the world that has a higher percentage of men in early childhood. There isn't. I mean, anybody can come out and, argue with me or, debunk this statement, but the little research that I've been doing, I've realized that there isn't any country. The best you could get is a 40% men, 60% women. So there isn't any country in the world. That's to say that it's a global issue, right? And I want to lean towards what Winifred said, that it's because, the status and the pay, the compensation that teachers are paid or given is low. And, there's this perceived status trend to definitely push men who might face societal expectations to be the main breadwinner. I think like Olamide also said, to push them away towards, a job that's would give more remunerative compensation, So that's also my take. Then to your question, so that I'm not responding because I have the question right here in my head, but I want you to say it again. Sakina, do you want to help me? Because I'm thinking, yeah. So please go on, please.
Yeah. So I said that. Do you think that gender has any impact on learner outcomes in foundational literacy and numeracy?
Okay, thank you very much. I would say a big no. Gender doesn't. A lot of times we keep telling people this is not a gender thing. This is a personality thing. Unfortunately, if you've had a very not so good math teacher who was a man, and you now have a very good math teacher who is female, you go on with that knowledge that, females are better teachers in mathematics than men, da, 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 da. Every time you hear people speak, it's a bit of their experience they're sharing, unfortunately, right? So yes, gender really hasn't got anything to do with, the quality of what the take home is. But we see more men in STEM roles than we have more women in math teaching mathematics. I remember I used to be a math teacher when I was not in Nigeria, and I was in Ghana at the time, this particular year that I want to share. And my boss then, Miss Charlotte, I keep saying her name everywhere because it's for good. She told me, she said, if you want to do well in Accra, you just came to Accra, if you want to do well in the education sector here, don't focus on math. Be an English teacher because they're very good math teachers. You don't want to dabble with them. You want to go where there is a need and shine, right? So there are lots of men in, these STEM fields, physics, sciences, this and that. But when we see women there, they also excel. So I always like to tell people, can we play down on this gender thing? Because we're unconsciously conditioning people to think that, when you have a math teacher who is a man, he will do better, he will do it well, he understands his best. Or when you have an English teacher who is female, I've had wonderful English male teachers, fantastic ones. I've also met excellent math teachers who are females. I was one, used to be one, no longer one. But yeah, I don't think that it's a gender thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jace. Your comments are very, very noted and important. I think it also shows how a lot of what we consider a collective truth in society can be based on individual experiences, like you said, and how it's important to debunk these notions using forums and conversations like this. So Winifred, now to you, still exploring gender, the implications of women being predominantly early childhood educators on learners. Do you think that having mostly female teachers affect boys and girls' learning experiences differently, or in their formation of role models?
Thank you for that question. Jace has already built on some things that I wanted to build on, because Olamide made like a very strong point when she talks about women telling their stories and pushing themselves out there. And I totally agree with it. And it took me back to when I was about to make a very serious career move. I just gave birth, and I noticed that everybody was sidelining me, you know, pampering me and all that. And in my mind, I was like, no, this is not what I want. I want to be out there. I want to advance my career, and I don't want any pity party. And I was very intentional, speaking about my work and also showing that I'm readily available, that my organization can lean on me. So I totally agree. Though we are saying that women are not given these platforms, sometimes we have to create those platforms, but I also know that we have to put the extra efforts to push ourselves out there rather than what men do. Then coming back to your question about the implication of female being in early childhood classes, I think I'll just speak on both ends from the girls from the perspective of a girl child and then that of a boy child. One of the things I know is, let's say, for parents sending their female children down to school and they see a teacher, right? A teacher that is a female. One of the things that unconsciously is safety, because they believe that women nurture, right? And then for the girls, that girl child will begin to see that teacher as a role model because they could relate to their gender. Oh, this is a female, and that's why you mostly see a girl child say, "Oh, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a teacher," like at that early age, because if that teacher is so good enough, they want to like take up that profession. And then you rarely see the boy child say, "Oh, I want to do this. I want to be a teacher. I want to be this," because sometimes they don't relate with their gender. They might feel like, "Oh, when I'm at home, my mommy takes care of me, and I come back to school, right? My teacher is a female, and she also takes care of me, and she nurtures me." And unconsciously, it begins to like record these stereotypes that, "Oh, this place is not for me. Like this type of profession is not for me." And then that child will begin to look somewhere else. Where are the men? Where did I see the male by gender in what profession? And you begin to see them mention engineer, doctor, this, because those are things that they could relate with when they go to the hospital. They see that most of the doctors are male. They begin to take it. And when they are working, they go to a construction site, they see that that place is dominated by male. And then when it's time for them to like genuinely choose, they begin to choose because of the conditioned environment that they found themselves in, not from the place of, okay, what do I truly want to be? Although that would take a lot of time when they begin to grow to secondary school and make their own decisions. But you would also agree with me that these tiny backgrounds and foundations would also be the basis of choosing the careers that they want, right? So they will begin to like have this notion that this is not for me, this place is not for me. But for the girls, they'll feel safe. Normally, the children will feel safe, both the male and the female kids. They'll feel safe because this is the women. Female represents like a motherly figure. So they begin to like say, "Oh, this place is like a home outside home," right? They'll relax and all that. And you'd also agree with me that when a male teacher, if you happen to see a male teacher that's overly comfortable with all the children, you know, and with his learners, and the female children always calls his name and all that, somehow, though we don't say it, you think you want to be suspicious. Okay, what is happening? Why are you always calling? Because it's so abnormal for a child to just start idolizing a female child, to idolize a male teacher and all that. Though I'm not against it, because there are a lot of amazing male teachers out there. But one of the things I would say is that these things, like, they feel the society already put it that the female gender is kind of protection, and then for the girl child, they will tend to like go through that profession. when that type of profession surface, they don't see it as anything. And as I always tell people, most times our comfort zones are what will seem play out when we are growing up. So they might not want to like move forward. They'll just, okay, I've seen these teachers. I've almost have met mostly male, female teachers in my class. Why don't I become a teacher? After all, some of the ladies that I interviewed would tell me that went into teaching profession would say, oh, this is what I can lay my hands on. I can start this now because I can do it. I can do it. But then for the male ones that when you even want to force them and when they learn of the remuneration, they begin to like draw back. Oh no, I have this, I have that. Will you give me opportunity to do this and all that? Because they're really thinking about their own responsibilities, like how that money would play out. But for the female, they already have this. Oh, why not? Other people have done it. Other women have done it. This is what I should do. And I think these are some of the effects that we see play out in the society, because it would also yield in long run, it will yield to more female being in classrooms, and then the male also tending to like the male the jobs that are labeled as male profession. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Winifred, for your extensive response. I think we've done well in exploring, in establishing that there isn't a lot of implications for learners in terms of a preference for female teachers. Rather, a lot of these are still societal expectations, and how the profession is perceived when women do it more. I would like to move on to the policy and workforce development aspect of things, and I'll be starting with Olamide here. Now, as someone who leads a school, like you rightly said, how can schools, teacher associations, and government policies support both women and men in teaching to create a balanced, respected, and empowered workforce?
Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Okay. So thank you so much for that question. I think one of the things that can be done is to have campaigns. So if as associations, so we're calling on associations like NAPS, like OMEP, you know, these ACSI, these associations for school owners and teachers, if we get them to campaign such that we go to universities, go to undergraduates, and just encourage them to get into the teaching profession, letting them know that it's a profession, it's not a gender-based profession, and then including in policies. So when we are talking about the early years, or when we're talking about the nursery setting or not on nursery schools, we as school owners, policymakers, the government, the ministries should stop giving it gender-based, I don't know how to put it. So when we want to talk about teachers in the nursery school, we will talk about it as, oh, men and women working in this profession, this is what is expected. We will not narrow it down and pointing it as, oh, women workforce or things like that. So I think using things like that, especially the campaigns, and ensuring that our policies speak to men, and also learning from global, I would say from, you know, global practices, I think that can go a long way. Also, maybe giving scholarships so that some men that probably will be interested in maybe even studying early childhood education, and maybe what is holding them back might be funds, you know, to go into school and actually study education as a course. So I think maybe even giving scholarships to people like that, or to graduates who want to push further, maybe they studied something else and want to go for PGD, for instance, giving scholarships for them to go back and study that and then work in the early childhood education space can also work. And I think a lot of representation. So if we have people maybe in our organizations, in our schools, that work within the age range, that are male and work with the early years setting, if we can push to push, to showcase them, to showcase their expertise, to showcase how they're able to also work in the early childhood space and also deliver. If we're able to, showcase them and recognize them, I think that would also go a long way. And then just promoting mixed gender. So in our settings, through our organizations, associations, through conferences, promoting mixed gender. So ensuring that when we hold conferences for teachers, we're trying to balance it, having a mix of both genders so that people can see and know that it's not just a profession for a particular gender. I think those are ways that we can help.
Thank you very much, Olamide. So just to follow up on Olamide's response, while we encourage more male participation in teaching and we have policies to do that, because like you rightly said, as a fact now, there are more women in early childhood education precisely than men in every part of the world. What would you say can be done to support female teachers more? Now, I think Olamide mentioned during one of our responses that family expectations and homemaking and all of that usually draw women back in some cases. Like Winifred also said in her personal experience of after having to show herself more postpartum. So how do you believe that we can platform women more and give them more opportunities to thrive? Understanding that it is just and equitable to allow for them to be able to perform their responsibilities within the home and outside it while pursuing income earning work.
Thank you very much, Sakinat. And Olamide, thank you again. I like it. I like it when you speak and when Winifred speaks. I think that the organizers have outdone themselves by bringing the right voices here. Because listening to Winifred and you, Olamide, I'm not sure I would have responded better, when you guys speak. So yes, and to take it up from what Olamide was saying, to your question, Sakinat, I would ask a question. Why wasn't there a male representation for this webinar? Because these are the things we're talking about. I had to ask in an email. I wanted to ask if there was a male, but I said no, don't give it away. Let's be there. Let's go for the webinar and then figure out. I mean, we're talking about the men. We're talking about male representation. We're talking about male voices. Maybe one man or two men and one female on this call would, it would be good to hear their voices. So what I did this morning was send a message to about 6, 7 men in early childhood education, very early in the morning, by the way, at 6 a.m. A few of them responded just before this meeting. And just right now, while we're having the, webinar, I was getting more responses. And I was asking them, Mr. Sheung, I'm calling their names because they're fantastic, male educators. I'm like, Sheung, why are you still in education? Why did you even choose education in the first place? And what are the things that have been done? Has there been anything done to you that has made you consider running away? So let me just give a random answer. Mentally, I haven't done a proper analysis of the responses, but this is what I got. A good number of them said, Jace, you know me, I'm passionate about children, I have this, all those nice things that women would say also when they, teach or are teachers. And I hear Winifred, I hear Olamide, and when I hear educators or school leaders talk about education, then I'm worried. First of all, teaching shouldn't be because you didn't get a better role or because you didn't get a better job. You should be teaching because you know what you want to teach. Unfortunately, a very good fraction of the people teaching in Nigeria, and allow me push a bit, in other parts of the world, are teaching because they didn't get a better job. If they got it well, they would not be teaching today. And the policies like Olamide spoke about, the bar for teachers, for people to become teachers, they keep bringing it low every now and then, making it look like, okay, teaching is just for the rejects, the rejects. You didn't get a job, okay, come this way, that, oh, let my people go thing. I'm just teaching because, when I get a better thing, I would leave. That's why we are where we are. And when I think earlier I talked about status and pay. The truth is, pay isn't just material. It has a symbolic weight. So when we have low salaries, it signals that the society undervalues teachers. And trust me, no man, the egos that with the ego men have, they don't want to be in a place where you do not value or put a lot of value in. So if a lot of value is in XYZ, that's where you see the men. And then the women are the ones who will say, women do not mind earning less if they believe that they are passionate about it. Because anyway, there's support from their husbands. Well, things are changing now. Some women are becoming very ambitious like me and are saying, you know what? I think I need more. I need better for myself. But so it's mainly a status and pay issue. While of course we understand the other factors, I think the most the guy with the crown is status and pay. If we make education more, I'll give you another example I personally had. One time when I was still in full-time teaching in this school in Abuja, it was close to my house, so I would prefer to walk some days when I don't have lots of books. For those who are teachers in the house, used to go home with lots of books to go and mark. Yeah. So on days I don't have all that pile, I'll say, you know what, let me walk to school. So just my handbag and my shoes and I'm out. So I had this couple, an older couple, and I'll always meet them on the way, both of them. I think if they walk, they always take a walk in the morning. Very quickly, I'm sure that my time is about, but I just want to say this. So I'd met them once too many, and they knew my name, and they would always say, hi, Jace, hi, the woman would always hug me, the man would wave. Very old couple, both of them. And then this particular day, I was walking and I met them again as usual. Hi, Jace. And the husband said, we've never asked you where you work. And I said, oh, I work at this school. And the wife was like, no way. And I'm like, yes, way. And she's like, no, you don't work in a school. And I'm like, I work in a school. And the husband said, okay, maybe she's in leadership, some of them. And I'm like, no. In fact, at that time, I was a full 9 to 5 classroom year 5 amateur teacher. The way I'm calling the name of the class, like I know the class I was teaching. And I said, no, I'm a classroom teacher. I teach the year 5. And they were surprised. And I'm like, why? I had to pause to ask. And she said, you don't dress like a teacher. You don't smell like a teacher. There's no way you got this hair from teacher salary. And this is it. And it has happened not just once, so many times. We've had programs in our school and I'm anchoring the event and one parent says, that parent did not believe that you're one of the teachers. They thought they invited you from somewhere to come and anchor the program. And I'm like, I'm the teacher. I'm the year 5 class teacher. I teach English. I teach social studies. I teach this. I teach that. So it's a status thing. People mentally already think that, teaching is for the rejects, for those who don't have the better options, for those who, when we begin to change this narrative, like calling the male voices, like Olamide said, putting them in front, have them invited for meetings like this, have them air their views, have them share.
Thank you, Jace. So noted on us not having a man here. So we tried our best. Yeah, but in my experience organizing these webinars, I think we again it's a topic thing, which extends to the conversation that we have been having, because we have had webinars where I'm always like, oh, we need to have a woman on the panel. We have like 4 men, but today that it's about teaching, we tried our best to have a man on the panel, and you lovely women were more responsive in participating in this event. So we'll do our best going forward to ensure that we have a more gender diverse panel.
I'm sorry I had to say that in the recording though.
No, that's fine. Actually, that's fine. Thank you, Jace. So Winifred, now I think we've said a lot of things, and a lot of our conversations border on payment. So teachers need to be paid better. I would ask this question to Olamide more and then Winifred after, because Olamide runs the school and I believe pays teachers' salaries. So, in your opinion, Olamide first, what can we do to make sure that teachers are paid better? Is there anything that the government can do? Is there anything that NGOs can do? Is there anything that we can get from multilateral bodies, civil society? How far do we have to go if we are going to be advocating for better pay? What is the issue with payment of teachers? Is it that schools don't make enough money, or there isn't enough support from government in actually paying the salaries? Is it that there needs to be a benchmark for how much teachers must be paid across different levels? How can that be implemented? So what would you say needs to change?
Thank you so much for that question. That's a very, I think that's a great question that we really need to talk about. So there are lots of things that affect how teachers are paid. And you know, when you mentioned having a benchmark, I don't think that would be possible, having the government give a benchmark. And this is the reason why. For schools that, so let me use Lagos State, for example. Lagos State has different areas. There is we have areas like Mount 12, we have areas like, let's say, K2, we have areas like Ikeja, we have areas like Lekki, we have areas like VI. Now, in determining the salaries that will be paid in schools in all those areas that I've mentioned, they would vary. And this is because of the locality and the environment that those schools are located in. So, for instance, a school in K2, the salary they would want to pay a teacher, you won't compare that amount to a school that is located in Lekki or in VI, or maybe even in Ikeja, for instance. You won't be able to compare the same amount just because the environments are different. The caliber of parents and children that would also go to these schools are different. So one of the things that affect salaries is the environment where the school is located, because it affects the kind of fees that will come in. So salaries mainly come from fees. So it's the amount of money that a school has been paid in relation to the amount of fees they've collected from parents will then determine how much they're able to allocate to the teachers that work in that school. Now, looking at the angle of governments or maybe organizations helping, I think the way that they can help schools is maybe through grants, through supporting or sponsoring conferences for teachers that can help to boost the mindset and the professionalism of the people working in the educational sector. But regarding how much a person is paid would largely depend on the school, would depend on the qualification of the teacher, would depend on the experience of the teacher, and most importantly, the amount of fees and the budget of the school. So you will find out that a teacher who has the same qualification but is working in Ikeja might be earning more than a teacher who has the same qualification and experience but is working in a school in K2, for instance. That would vary. Or you would compare the salary of a teacher who is a graduate, has maybe 2 or 3 years experience, but is working in Lekki. You can't compare the same salary with one who is working in Ikeja. There might be a bit of difference with how much they are earning. But I think what we need to talk about is ensuring that irrespective of whatever or wherever your school is located or the environment where you're working, that you are giving an amount that is, because I don't want to say sufficient, because no amount can really be sufficient for anyone, but is an amount that is, what's the word to use now? That you can be proud of to an extent. To say I've worked from 8 o'clock to maybe 4 p.m. and I've taught this group of children while their parents are making millions wherever they are. And then I've been given something that I can take home and be happy with, at least be happy with. I think that's what we need to look at. So that would also depend on the population of the school. So there are just a lot of dynamics around what a person is being paid. I don't know if that answers your question a bit. That there are lots of things that go around in determining how much a person ends. But what we want is that for teachers to be paid what is sufficient, or what so
is with you and can see I'm not of the people hoard and try to like keep their teachers, but there's a way you develop your teachers that they move on. I'm not talking about moving out of your school, but they move on, like you see the development stages, right? It might come as Olamide mentioned about the scholarship stuff. You can come with partnering with an organization or in a body that would subsidize a training fee. There are a lot of things that you can, like a school owner or the education administrators would do beyond just paying salary. There are a lot of ways to pay, teachers. There are teachers that they are not valued, and whenever they come to the environment, like when they come to school, they feel the environment is toxic. And where a place that is toxic and you don't even appreciate the person's efforts, you don't expect the person to give you their best, except that person is intentional and have like excellence as their core value, that they have to go beyond whatever the environment is saying to like give in their all. In a nutshell, I'm leaning towards what Olamide said. However, I also would implore that there are other areas that we pay teachers. We don't, you don't keep salary, don't solely keep someone. I've seen someone that's not in the education space that have to step down, right? Cut down their salary because of the toxic environment, cut down their salary to somewhere that was giving them peace of mind, somewhere like they are comfortable working there, their opinion matters and all that. So can we create that kind of space where we want them to like evolve? You know, when a teacher is in your school and is getting an innovative solution, and then that solution is implemented successfully, does that person take accolades? One of the things I'll be closing with this. When I was in classroom, that's one of the things that I love the place, that school so much, especially the school owner. She always goes above and beyond to partner with organizations. She went as far as, is a school under AFED. Is it AFED? AFED, right? That she went above and beyond, collaborating with international organizations. I know she did one with Poland then, that they came to school, they trained teachers and all that. She wasn't paid, the pay wasn't great. But you can see her heart. She pours out trainings to the teachers. And you see that things evolve. Whenever she brings idea, okay, this is what we want to do. There are people there to like take that upon themselves. There are sometimes that a teacher will do wonderfully well, and that it's not like she's increasing the person's salary, but she give like a bonus that month. Oh, and send a note. Thank you for doing this. Just like that. If you want to do something, if you do something well, she gives like award. You know, these placards. She will not give money, but like she will just inscribe on it and give awards. It doesn't come with gifts. Most times during Teachers' Day, she will take the teachers out and then they do raffle draw. Whatever thing you draw there, she brings like a lot of gifts. Whatever thing you get there, as little as that, people are contented and they want to like continue in that profession. So what I'm saying is, though we want to increase, and I'm of the opinion that the salary of teachers, and I will even talk about like because I still work with teachers, right? The salary of teachers should not be below minimum wage. And it should be something that should, if it's below, even if it's above minimum wage, there are other areas that you can pay your teachers that is not monetary. And I think when we start exploring that, while waiting for maybe the government to like institutionalize the minimum wage and all that, we know that is on paper. A lot of people pay below minimum wage, and the structure is not really great. If you can get that structure working where all schools are mandated, right, to pay minimum wage and all that to teachers, I think it will also go a long way to like shift the stereotype that we see in the teaching profession. However, there are other ways that we, the teachers union and other associations that work with teachers can begin to advocate that these teachers feel comfortable and they feel valued. With that, we are revaluing the teaching profession and also making it more professional that would attract people, attract the male gender to join, especially in the early years childhood. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Winifred. You made a lot of great points about reviewing the salary system, professionalizing teaching as something that is more about nation building, and to ensure that more men can join if people are paid better and encouraged to do more. I'd like just to comment on that as well. Winifred spoke to partnerships. She said that it's possible to engage in different forms of partnerships to encourage teachers, to make them more professional, to do their jobs better, and ultimately, like we have been saying, to attract more men into the profession, especially at the early childhood level. So, in your experience as someone who used to teach and who now works within the educational sector generally, what would you say is the role of these partnerships, and how do they really form in practical ways, and how can they ultimately help to attract more men into the profession?
Thank you very much, Sakinat, again, and Winifred and Olamide. Yeah. When Winifred was talking about partnerships, and there's something I don't know if it's Theodore Roosevelt or John Maxwell, I'm not sure. But something about people don't care what you know, but they care, they want to know, they care how you care. Yeah, and people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, and it just demonstrates how emotional connection is more important than leadership or knowledge or whatever when it comes to relationship, when it comes to people. I currently run an educational organization for teachers, for schools, for parents. And I'm always in schools every now and then, having trainings with teachers. And I continue. Yes, thank you, Anne. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That's what I said. Thank you very much. So every time I hear teachers complain about salaries and all, and I tell them I really am concerned about the school owners. They don't understand. Even when I was in the classroom, teachers will always say to me, "Just keep quiet. You're always speaking for the school." Maybe because I was raised by an educator. My mom had, at some point in our life, she had 4 schools in the northern part of Nigeria. So, in fact, as a teenager at 17, when I just graduated from secondary school, I was the principal of one of the schools in Daura, to be precise, Katsina, And so when I'm talking to teachers and they're complaining about salaries, I'm always the one who says, you don't want to know what the school owners deal with. You don't want to know. In fact, there was one time I had to tell teachers, I said, sit down. I got a list of the things that the school spent in just a week at that time. And at the top of the list was 7 million naira for power. That was just paid in the months, that month that I was talking about. And everybody just kept quiet. And I said, okay, because teachers always do this. They calculate how much, Olamide, how many students you have in your class, what primary 1. I'm a primary 1 teacher. We have 23 children. We pay 660,000 naira times 23. And this woman cannot just give me one salary, cannot just give me one child's school fees. So we had to do the math on that particular day. And I had a paper filled with the list of things the school paid for. Before we got to list number 7, everybody told me, it's okay, we agree with you, Jace, we agree. And I'm like, these are the ones that I could find out. These are the ones that I heard, because I'm not the school owner. I'm also a staff like you guys. I'm also a teacher like all of you. But then I've been in a place with the school owners, senior leaders, that I know. In fact, I'm always concerned about lights. I'm walking around the schools and saying, if you're not using this, can you turn this off, turn that off? And I was just a class teacher, So with this mentality, it's kind of shaped and got me to see better and understand where the schools are coming from. and why they pay what they pay. So maybe if all these other things that are, weighing and that are taking so much, that is taking so much from the school, just maybe it will be better. But when we talk about partnerships, the school that I was with when I came to Nigeria, like Winifred said, was also one of the things that my boss would do. In fact, I'm going to say, to the world now that for 5 years working in the school, my house rent was covered full time. The first year it wasn't covered, but the second year till the 5th year, my house rent was covered, fully paid by the school. Well, not fully, maybe 8-something%, but that was rich. That was rich enough. And it wasn't because I was related to nobody. I just came in, I didn't know anybody. It was because of the partnerships that my boss forged or formed. And so I also started by saying people don't care what you know, and all that, because I wanted to say this. Because my boss at the time, she's late now, so God bless her soul, was careful enough to notice that people like me were already thinking global. She would tell me in her office, Jace, I'm thinking of how to keep you. I'm like, I'm here. I know. And she's not telling me, but see what we want to do. We want to start teaching ESD. And I'm like, at the time, I'm like, what's ESD? And she's like, Education for Sustainable Development. And I'm a creative. So I'm always interested in new stuff. I'm always thinking of ways that the children would learn and enjoy my classroom. My assistants that work with me, I wear them out. And the last one told me, you wear yourself out. So you're punishing you, you're punishing me, we are both punished. It's fine, So because I want to, every day in my class is a new day. My classroom decoration changes almost every day. And I'm not kidding. When you ask parents or students who have sat in my class, they'll tell you, even when children are ill, they'll say they want to come to school because they want to see what Miss Jace has turned the class into today. They can't miss to see. Even if they have to go to the hospital, they are sick, but mommy, just bring me to school to see. And that's because of two things, partnerships and the fact that the school gave some autonomy, just trusted that, okay, this teacher is a dreamer. She's big on global trends and things happening around the world. And of course, there are cameras everywhere. I'm not going outside the curriculum, but enriching the curriculum at, some sorts. So when schools partner with organizations, because in my school, I was the first person to start that ESD. And when I left the primary to secondary, I was the one facilitating education for sustainable development across the entire college and the school. Then there's every time we're having TEDx, we started TEDx speaking. They partnered with them too. Kobe's had their first ever TEDx program in my school, and I led the team. So when, like Winifred said, we can't overflow this. When the school leader is creative enough, identify the people that you work with, see where their heart is. Some of us, we might work in a place for 50 years without a salary. So bad, but it's the truth, because we're just passionate about the things that we do. If you find it, then feed it. Identify international or local organizations that would feed these things. We're talking about teacher retention, whether male or female, you keep them. I have a colleague, I left the school, he's still there, he's the one leading the team, and he's male. I don't think that guy is leaving that school in the next 24 years. I'm sorry, I always tease him like that. But that's because apart from his salary, we used to laugh and say, it's not salary, Jace, it's stipend. Apart from his stipend that the school gives him, he's excited about all these other things. He's traveling to Finland because of a partnership that they did. And the partner is paying him daily stipends. And at the end of the month, too, he still gets his stipend from the school. Then he's in charge of some club thingy for chess and da-da-da-da. We cannot overflow the need for schools to partner. So a school that is thinking about ensuring that the children were raised, and let me say it, I keep telling educators that the children in early childhood, primary, nursery and primary, those children are going to have jobs that do not currently exist. So you're joking if you're dealing with them like you were dealt with. So schools must be forward thinking to already begin to think about global partnerships, global this, that, and then bring people to the table. Enrich your teachers. Who wants to go? The teachers don't want to leave, male, female. More men teachers want to come in because, oh, they are seeing that this school is doing this and this school is doing that. And then the female teachers still want to get themselves better because they see that, there are like opportunities in the school to grow. But then these opportunities only come with, self-development, come with, better knowledge and experiences. And so you can't get it bad with partnerships. And I would say to the school owners here or the school leaders here, please get some partnerships to help your school spice it up. Remember, your teachers really do not really care so much about all the nice things that you want to tell them. They want to see how much you care for them. And I think getting partners on board is also another way to enrich them. I know someone on this call who also has benefited from, school partnerships and, international things like this. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Jace. You've said so much, I don't even know where to start, but I agree, and I think we all on the call agree that partnerships are great in spicing up the education system, both for learners, for teachers and their experiences, and even ultimately for expanding the profession, making it more respected, renowned, and ultimately attracting more men. We've spent a lot of time on this conversation, and I'll just like to ask each and every one of you just one last final question. So I'm going to start with Olamide. If you could change one thing tomorrow to make teaching a more balanced, a more respected profession for both women and men, what would it be? So this is a question for all of you to think through and answer. Olamide, you can start first.
So if I could make teaching profession, you said more.
If you could change one thing tomorrow to make teaching a more balanced and respected profession for both men and women, what would it be?
I think I would push the profession forward by how I carry myself. So when people ask me, oh, introduce yourself, I most of the time don't introduce myself until I'm the school owner. I start by saying, oh, my name is Olamide Adeniji. I'm a teacher. I studied early childhood education because that's my core. That's who I am. So I think we need to start from the mindset. Get people to be excited. Just like someone would say, oh, I'm professor this, I'm doctor this, I'm the son here, I'm lawyer this. You should be proud to say, oh, I'm a teacher. I teach in a nursery school. Oh, I teach maths. I teach English. I think that's the where we should start from. So if I could change something, it would be from that mindset that people are proud anywhere to say, oh, I'm a teacher. I think that's one thing I would do. And I think we need to start from when they're little. And that's also representation. How are we, the current teachers, how are we portraying ourselves? So it's not just saying, oh, people should go into the profession, let's have teachers. How do you carry yourself as a current nursery teacher? How do you sit? How do you speak? Because those are the things that the little ones that are currently in nursery school, those are what they see to say, oh, I just like how Mrs. Adeniji talks, or I just like how she dresses, or I just like how she smiles in the morning and she's excited to see me. So I think things like that. So from the mindset to us being proud of the profession, that's how I'm going to, begin to change how people see the profession.
Thank you, Winifred.
I think Olamide just said what was in my mind. The way we carry ourselves, just to be the person that is different. The way you smell, someone would say, do not, if you look like your problem, you attract people that are familiar with your problem. But when you don't look like it, you attract even your helpers. For example, but then that's it. So if we want to like make the profession attractive, we should also dwell like deeply enrich ourselves with everything that has to do with teaching. That means when it comes to your field, you have to be updated with every information. If you're a math teacher, you have to be informed. You should know the updated trends, the new technology, and all that. I am so happy when I see teachers that even do that are in classrooms use technology to like teach and enhance their teaching. And I think it's also something that, if it was before, you say, oh, is this highbrow schools that have access to it? But when we bring it back, there are a lot of free apps now, free technology that you can use to actually upskill your students. For example, when your learners begin to see that they're not learning like as usual, or the normal routes learning, people begin to like trust your expertise and look at you from a different standpoint. That's apart from wearing a good perfume. Like I'll just give this two scenarios where someone, just like what Jay said, someone asked me then, are you sure you're teaching? I said, yes, I'm teaching. I said, but then then he now called another person that was a teacher. I said, see, she said she's a teacher. Do you know? He said, yes. I said, but is our own teaching different? Like, the way I compose myself and all that. And then secondly, there is this perception with parents feeling that they pay your school fees, right? And they want to like they pay your salary and they want to like talk to teachers anyhow and all that. And they forget that they also pay the bank attendance salary when they go there to like deposit money and all that. They forget that they pay like a lot of things, that the services that they enjoy, that is from the money that they pay those people, that the money that they pay these people that they pay their salary from, right? And when it comes to teaching, it becomes different. They feel like they can, like some parents feel like they can tell you what to do, shout and all that. And then I had a situation like when a parent was angry about what happened in school, and that her child was in my class, and she was just talking, shouting in the school, and then none of the teachers could go near her. What I did was I just went back to her. Immediately I went to her. I was like, hi, madam, can we help you? What is the problem? The woman couldn't say any single thing. So like, if she comes to the school and shouts, they now told me that she was notorious. So when she comes to school and shouts, the school owner and the administrators will just push me to the woman. Like, and people begin to ask me why. I said, the way you compose yourself, the way you smell, don't joke with your perfume, don't joke with the way your hair is dressed, even down to your shoes. Let it be that when someone sees you, they know that there is dignity in the profession. And it starts with me, it starts with all of us. When you're going into the classroom, just like a banker going into the banking hall, just like a butcher going into like a board meeting, just like every other person going into their own profession. Let's wear the teaching profession with pride, because we are the first ambassadors of teaching. And if we don't represent it well, we shouldn't expect anybody like to come to us. We shouldn't even expect people to reach out and want to partner, just like Jay said, that it's the kind of the way you wear yourself, the way you carry yourself, the kind of aura you carry around yourself. For example, when you want to talk about maybe in your field, make sure that you have updated information, because it also commands respect, and it's kind of puts you as an expertise out there. And then when someone sees you, and when there is a need for them to recommend you to speaking engagements, need for you to recommend you to maybe to other opportunities, you will not be lucky, because they've seen they've seen all this the values and professionalism in you. Then lastly, I think in as much as we are that we are trying to give school owners, the government, their own role to play to make teaching attractive. I think we should also take a bet on ourselves and begin to be conscious in our own professional development. There are a lot of the internet is free. There are a lot of professional development. There are a lot of things that you can search on. YouTube is a whole university on its own. Google, use it to upgrade yourself. Use it to like look at what other people are doing. And even if you don't know where to start, you can start by mirroring. When you mirror other people's knowledge, especially checking out if the knowledge is true and it's acceptable in our own framework in Nigeria or across the globe. It would also make people know that it makes the profession attractive. You know, just like a public speaker speaking and someone is saying, oh, I want to be like this. This person have gone to practice a lot. There are a lot of teachers like Olamide is talking, Jace is talking, and then there are a lot of people on the session in the audience saying, oh, this person, I like this person, I know this person, I do. The truth is that if the three of us weren't out there talking about what we do and even people knowing our stories and following our own personal story, we wouldn't be on this platform. So it starts from us. We need to start creating our own platform, shatter the ceiling, just like what Jay said, shatter that glass ceiling and begin to launch yourself. Before you know it, you'd see people buying into that vision. And then if one person can start, then other people will join. And before we know it, in years to come, teaching might be a profession that everybody wants to go into. Because one of the things I know is that AI definitely is not going to replace teaching. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Winifred. Jess, I'd like your final opinion on how we can change teaching for both men and women.
Why did you let me go before? Why did you let me go after Olamide? Like after Winifred, like what more? Winifred, really? What more am I supposed to say? I mean, these women are these women are powerful women. I mean, I'm not joking when I say I listen to everything that both of you said, and I appreciate what you guys stand for. I love to hear women, knowing their onions. I love to see women who know what they're about, who know, what they're saying, who understand the system that they work in. I really love it. So well done both ladies. I'm not going to say much because they've said everything, but I'm just going to say a bit. And what I would say is teachers deserve to travel. There's so much a teacher can learn when they travel. Please, when I say travel, I'm not saying go to any of these countries on my screen. That's not what I'm really stressing. I'm saying leave your comfort zone. There isn't, find out, search for those who are the gurus, who are at the top in your space, in your circle, and travel to them. If you can't afford local travel, you can actually visit, please go. If you cannot even afford to travel to another state, you can travel to another school. It's very important that teachers actually travel. Very important it is that teachers, take a trip. I can't say too much. I don't think there's any education as strong as travel is to anybody. Trust me, the things you learn when you go out. I remember that I visited Lagos because Lagos as a child used to be that place we hear about in movies. To me, and imagine I'm Nigerian, but Lagos was like far away, And when I got older and I was in education, I traveled to Lagos because there's this teacher that I see on IG and she's doing fantastic. And I said, I'm traveling to this woman's class. I'm going to go and see what's up. Before even getting into her classroom, just the walkway, the hallway, the school, things that I saw, I was with a pen. I'm like, oh my God, can I snap this? Can I snap that? That's who I am. Because what you don't know is what you see stays with you the strongest than just what anybody is saying or what people are saying. My company is Global Exchange Tour. we do a lot of taking children around the world from the comfort of their homes. We travel, like they actually travel, and then we have local tour guides who are locals of different countries in the world. So name a country right now. I have a tour guide there who would take us on a virtual trip, and we'll go, you would ask him in real-time questions. Every time these children come back, the parents keep telling us they are different. They're not the same people, even though it was virtual travel. Then imagine what physical travel can do. Teachers play small and they stay in some space, and even those who are locally the champions, you're just a local champion if you stay in your space and you think that that's all there is. Travel, teachers, you can travel on social media. Search for those people who are doing the good things and check them out. Go as far as 20 years ago when they started their post to see how they've evolved and the things they were talking about and how it has gotten them or where it has gotten them. Converse, when you have people like, I don't want to call anybody's name, but she's here. I think she works with, this organization. I see what she does and I'm excited. I comment under it. Sometimes I send her a message and say, carry me along, go. Teachers, stop sitting down where you are and thinking that, you have it all. This is it. Travel. Make a physical trip if you can. If you cannot, make a virtual trip. They're also expensive. It's not cheap, but travel. Then when you travel and you go and learn all these nice things, please don't throw away your personality. There's a reason why God made you the way that you are. There's a reason why those things that irritate you and hurt you and annoy you, irritate you, annoy you, and hurt you. Because there's a reason why God put it in. God never makes mistakes. He's very intentional about the way that he's made us. So if you travel and learn all these things, don't learn things and dump who you are. So mix your travel experiences with the core of you, with who you are. And trust me, there's no way you mix a blend of travel and your personal oomph together that you would not be noticed. Winifred kept talking about smell and smell and smell. And I kept telling myself, it's like she's met a smelling teacher. But, maybe when teachers travel, because that's the thing, you never know. We get to a point where people who know us have just conditioned themselves that, you know what, that's who Jace is. This is who Jace is. She can't change. So they may not tell me again that, Jace, your hair smells or your mouth smells or this. But when you travel and you're meeting people for the first time, they're like, sorry, do you know that, Jace, your mouth smells? You're like, oh my God. And then you're calling people and shouting, Joy! So you did not tell me that my mouth smells. Joy has been dealing with it, but she's not been able to tell you. But teachers, I find every time I travel, I just returned from Lagos on Saturday morning. And trust me, my house has changed because I traveled to Lagos. So because of where I stayed, there's not just one, I think about 10 new things that, in fact, I'm in a neighbor's house because of some work going on in my house. The noise is too loud, but that's what travel has done. So teachers, if you're listening to me, if you're here, you're a teacher, please make travel a thing. Not just traveling to Canada, UK, if you cannot afford those. If you can afford virtual travel to those countries, do. If you cannot even afford them, can you please go to another school close to your own school? Ask for a time to just go and see what they are doing there. Compare things, even those in your school. Do you know a teacher can stay in year 5 and year 4 is just opposite them and they've never gone there to really sit down and see what the year 4 teacher is doing, understand how they're doing what they do, ask them questions. I'm saying teachers travel. If it's a mile journey, if it's just 2 steps, if it's just 1 feet, whatever, teachers travel. Travel in your mind, travel physically, and don't throw away your personal self. That's you, the oomph about you. There's a reason why you have it. And I'm sure that if you do all of these things, this wonderful woman, Olamide and Winifred has said, and you add travel and your personal touch to it, you definitely will soar and will have more people seeing and appreciating what we do in the education space. Yes, thank you very much, Sakina.
Thank you, Winifred. Thank you, Olamide. Thank you, Jace. Thank you to all of you and participants who have been here today for such an engaging discussion. I think today's discussion has reminded us that while teaching is one of the most vital professions for shaping futures, it is also deeply shaped by societal perceptions, gender dynamics, which influence how it is valued, who enters it and how teachers grow within the profession. What we've heard today makes it even more clear that driving equity in teaching, better pay for teachers, and the perception of the profession generally would help to reimagine how the profession is perceived as a space where both men and women can thrive, lead, and inspire the next generation. So, on behalf of the Education Partnership Center, I'm going to thank you once again for joining us. And I invite you to continue this dialogue in your schools, your organizations, your communities, and your personal spaces. Really, I believe that together we can elevate teaching and strengthen education for all learners. This brings us to the end of today's webinar. And like I said, it's been very impactful, very engaging, and very interesting as well. I'd like to close out by inviting you to join our nice community at TEP Center, which you can do by subscribing to our newsletter, linked in the chat box now. We also have a podcast where solutions to education issues are shared, as well as our social media channels. If you'd like to collaborate with us on the webinar, this is also possible. You could get in touch with us to discuss, because we have these webinars on a monthly basis. Thank you once again to everybody that joined. If you want to follow our work or learn more about us, we are at TEP Center on Twitter, Instagram, and most especially LinkedIn. You can also check our website, www.tepcenter.com, or reach out to us at info@tepcenter.com. Thank you once again, and see you same time next month.